silence here.
Dak is playing it right. Dak know he can't win a PR battle against a football team. We see Russell Wilson starting to take arrows now for trying to get his way out of there. Dak has made it abundantly clear he would love to spend the rest of his career as the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, but he wants fair compensation. He's unwilling, or he seems to be unwilling at this point in time, to give the Cowboys the discount that they want him to take for playing the position of quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry and Stephen Jones believe that, look, there are certain things that come along with playing with the Dallas Cowboys, especially at that position. You get opportunities that some other quarterbacks might not get. So you should be willing to give us a little kickback here, so because you're going to make it up over there. And Dak says, no, I'm not going to be willing to do that because I ran the risk and I dodged a lot of minefields. And last year I was unable to dodge that one because I ended up breaking my ankle, and now I missed the 12 games, I think 11 or 12 games. And Dak says, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. So, Skip, look, this is what we know about fans. We're coming in a pandemic. We had probably 20, 30 million people lose their jobs, and the market is starting, hopefully, the economy is starting to pick back up. They're starting to open up economies around, cities and states around the country. So hopefully that picks back up. The last thing people that lost their job or barely tried to scrape by is a guy saying, instead of 35 million, I need 40 million. Mm-hmm. Fans don't want to hear that. Fans have always sided with ownership because they look at it and says, like, man, hell, I'm just trying to live comfortably. I'm just trying to pay my bills. And you squabbling, you talking about you don't want to play for 35 million, you need 40? So Dak understands he cannot win a PR battle. So it's just best that he stays quiet, stay behind the scenes, let Jerry and Steven, they're going to do enough talking for both camps. Let them do the talking. I have said nothing publicly. You know my stance. You know where I am. And I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. But, Skip, you can't win a PR battle when a player starts talking about money. The first thing fans think about, oh, you greedy, because I'll play for 100,000. But it's relative terms. Because if your boss said, you know what, I need you to take a pay cut so Helen and HR can get an extra 5,000, you're going to say, hell no. Well, that's what Dak is saying. Dak says, look, I'm not giving you money so you can spread it out to somebody else. I want all my money. Because Zeke got all his money, Amari Cooper got all his money, Jalen Smith got all his, D-Law got all his, and those offensive linemen that you paid, they didn't give you discounts so you could pay someone else. So I'm going to be unwilling to give you a discount at this time. Now, maybe at the end of this contract, if we come back and you see me again in the future, I might be willing to cut you a deal, but not this time.
Mm. So, Shannon Sharpe, you being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, yes. I agree with your premise that almost always the player loses the PR battle when it becomes a contractual impasse. Until this one. I believe that Dak Prescott has run away with the PR battle against Jerry Jones, in part because
he hadn't said anything, Skip.
Silence is golden. By laying low, by staying off the grid, completely off the radar, he's the one player who's winning in the court of public opinion because all I ever hear, tell me if you hear something else, I don't read Twitter the way you do, but all I ever hear is pay the man. And I keep asking, pay him what? Well, nobody seems to know what is because nobody's talking. Okay? But I think it's been 40 for over a year. And yet, if that had been highly publicized going back a year ago, I think Dak would have lost the PR battle. But who is his foe in this PR battle? It's Gerald Wayne Jones Jr. Jerry Jones. He is the easiest target to me in all of sports because a lot of, especially non-Cowboy fans, they don't want to like Jerry. He talks too much. He's this, he's that. We know all the knock on Jerry. I love Jerry Jones. I get a kick out of Jerry Jones. I think he's far smarter than most people give him credit for. But in the end, because they have been a laughing stock of a franchise in that, I hate to even bring this up. It's too painful to even talk publicly about, but they haven't been to an NFC championship game, let alone a Super Bowl, since the 1995 season. And I wrote a book about that season called Hell Bent, and I guess they were hell bent the rest of their their franchise life because they haven't even re-achieved getting back to an NFC Championship game. So Jerry takes all the slings and arrows of, Jerry, what are you doing? You're the buck stops on your desk. You're responsible for all this, and now you've even screwed up the Dak scenario. You've almost all but parted ways with your franchise quarterback. Well, the reason that he has lost the PR, and I don't think he's just losing, I think he is L-O-S-T, past tense, lost it, is because Dak and his fairly new agent have played this perfectly and beautifully by saying nothing. That they lay so low that everybody even forgets about them, and all the focus is on Jerry. And Jerry and Steven, his son, who also sort of co-runs the Cowboys, they've talked and talked about Dak without really saying much about Dak, because neither has gotten into a mudslinging contest over the actual figures. Obviously, Jerry Jones and Steven are the only two people inside that organization who know full well how much Dak is asking for and how much he asked for going back more than a year, almost a year and a half ago. And yet they have not leaked that to the media because, as my mother used to say, that would be cutting off your nose to spite your face. Because I think if they leak the actual demands of Dak and his agent, it could be damning to Dak and his agent. They could start to lose in the court of public opinion if you knew they were actually asking for 42, 43, and 44 and 45 million over 4 years. Well, we don't know the exact figures because Jerry and Steven will not leak them. Because if they leak them, then a lot of Cowboy fans would start to get down on a Dak Prescott that Jerry still hopes, I believe, is going to be the long-term solution in Dallas. He can't figure out how to make it because he needs Dak and agent to compromise a little bit, come back into the high 30s, you know, 38, 39 instead of 42, 3, 4, 5. But the point is, yeah, go ahead.
I don't see that happening, considering that Deshaun Watson got $39 million with basically 3 years, 4 years left on his deal. So I don't see Dak with no years left on his deal giving them that kind of discount. Skip, you covered the league in 82 and 87 when they had strikes.
I did.
And the fans sided with the owners because they put scabs, that's what they were called, those replacement players on the field, and fans still showed up. And so the players end up having to say, well, hold on, I'm missing checks, and the fans are still going to the game. I might as well just go on out there and play, get my check, because I got my kids in private school. I got to pay for this house. I got to pay for this Cadillac and this Mercedes. And so they crossed the picket line. So the fans sided with the owners. Dak knows that when it comes to this, because my number is Skip, they're going to put my number in the paper. It's going to be all over the internet. Dak makes this. The owners, we don't really know. We think they make them, you know, every once in a while you'll see the NFL cut each team a check for $250 million or $275. That's not to say the local TV rights, the advertising that it does within their own city. But Skip, I think Dak knows this is what Dak did. Dak said, I'm going to find out how well I can trust. And I used to do this all the time, Skip. This is what you can tell your friends. You tell somebody something. Yeah. And you only tell one person. If it gets out, you know who told it, and you know you have to cut them off. True. Simple as that. Yeah. Dak says, okay, only two people, Jerry, Steven, you know. Me and Todd France, we know. If it gets out that I asked for this, you told it, I can't trust you because I really don't trust you anyway, because I think you've been putting stuff out there to try to make me look bad to begin with anyway. So I really don't want to trust you, but I'm just going to put this out there. I'm going to put this chum in the water and see who greedy enough to bite this bait. Okay. And for the better part, Skip, nobody has said anything. Well, they made him a fair offer, and I believe it was a fair offer. But that was the offer you needed to make more than 2 years ago, not at the end of the deal before you had him in under the franchise tag.
By the way, I was there that fateful Monday night in 1987 when the star Cowboys all caved in and crossed the picket line and decided to play a Monday night game against the rival Washington football team, then called their nickname, as you remember. And that team, coached
Right, I
by
do
Joe
remember.
Gibbs,
It was a Monday night game, wasn't it, Skip?
it was a Monday night game, and it was all replacement players, as you call them, scabs, but replacement players for Washington. And Dallas had Too Tall and Randy White and Tony Dorsett. It seemed like everybody crossed the picket line, and they got their golden tails beaten in that game by the replacement players. And that's when the fans said,
Washington won the Super Bowl that year too, Skip.
Yep, that's true. They rose right out of that.
Washington won the Super Bowl.
Okay, and I also
we had a guy from Savannah State that played the replacement.
I covered very closely
82
back in the early 90s, in 1993, the Emmitt Smith holdout that lasted 2 games. And trust me, it got ugly. It was mudslinging with figures being thrown back and forth between the 2 camps, Emmitt Smith's camp, Jerry Jones' camp. And finally, they settled, and Emmitt came back, and they went on to win the Super Bowl. But that got really ugly, and I think some of that lingers to this day. There's still just an undertone of bitterness to Emmitt about how that went down. So my point is...
Oh, no question.
Yeah. So my point now is Dak has played this so beautifully because he says zero about it. There's no mudslinging. There's been respect between the 2 camps, and I believe Dak Prescott has flat out